Beth?
Two of my questions have already been asked, but the other one was, when you decided to write this book, did you have a specific idea of like where you kind of wanted to go with it, or did you just kind of start writing and see like did you already have an idea of like what your character would be like, or if there was going to be a specific message to it?
Well, let me ask you, where do you think the book went? Like you asked, where was I going to go with it? Like, so where did it go?
Right. Well, yeah, you're right. Like, it doesn't necessarily have like a beginning, middle, and end, but in terms of like, there's definitely some messages to it, or so there seems to be like some sort of implied message or purpose in the poems. So was there an overall theme, I guess?
What you mean, kind of like the speaker asserts some sort of wisdoms, or that he what for instance, do any jump to mind?
Well, like you had talked about how people become very antisocial, but there's still like this feeling of want to perhaps be social, even if it's just like wanting to like touch someone's hair, and how that isn't like socially accepted at the same time.
Well, when I think of the word wisdoms, though, I think it's more like figuring out something. So therefore, I, and there are a few probably things like that I can think of, kind of insights that the speaker comes to with regard to kind of saying, okay, here are some principles of my life that I will adhere to and trust in. But overall, I find that more often the speaker is the kind of insights that he has are insights which can't be made use of, really. They're just insights, sort of like somebody who's in a car wreck and is laying there choking, bleeding, can think, kind of comes, I shouldn't have taken that pill with this other pill I'm taking. That type of insight. Kind of like, okay, you understand why what has happened now, but it doesn't help you. Yeah. But did I have a sense, as far as I just kept writing them, and then the more I wrote them, the more I thought. I wrote them for a while, probably the first 30 or 40 of them, and just as a kind of, they were fun to read to my friends, or they were just, and then after a while I thought, this is what would happen if I kept writing them. And so I really didn't have an answer to that question. I just said, wonder if I can, and I just kept writing them, and they kept, and it's sort of, I'd say the only thing I really, I at some point tried or thought, can I add plot to this? Can I imply somehow, by way of the letters, imply that that a particular thing is going on in this character's life or something, And when I tried that, that was just a failure. I just couldn't do that. Because the minute I tried to say, because what that is trying to do is, when I was writing one, I was writing it. That was it. There was nothing else I had to think about. It was that visit in its entirety. Long line today at the register, That's all I had to worry about. I don't have to worry about anything exterior to it. And the minute I started to try to allow the story to go out beyond any letter or between letters, the intensity all drained out of them. Where I found like I was just saying this in order to imply that, and it just didn't work. And I think part of the thing that's enjoyable, or was enjoyable to me, too, was the way in which there was no you know, I could go from, you know, if I had two dwarves who followed me around, I could go from that to a discussion of, you know, the way the menu glows or something, you know.
What were some of the ideas for the narrative that you had, that you took throughout?
You know, I don't know if I even remember, but I know that maybe it was some type of illness. Maybe, I think the one thing I kept wanting, I can't remember if this was the initial idea I had or the idea I had when I started writing them again later after the book was done, but at some point I was thinking that I wanted to have the character's mother die and the letters change dramatically. Or I was wondering if I could go from like whatever sort of sense of frivolity or pleasurable, whatever, to a sense that the character is deprived of that. But I couldn't.
I was on my question we've been asked, but I was going to ask, I know sometimes people talk about when they write, they get like really in the head of the speaker that they're writing from. Is it hard to like come back out of that and be like, you know, like go from like that speaker frame of mind to like regular frame of mind?
Yeah, no, because for me the speaker, I say the character or the speaker or whatever, but you know, it's basically me. You know, in some ways it isn't. I mean, it's a complex question if you really want to look at it very accurately, but it's not like, I mean, that question that you ask has more to do with actors, I think, who will go and say, okay, I'm going to play a schizophrenic for 4 months on a film. You know, and you do that and it would be like, or, you know, anything that's an extreme change like that. But to me, this was just a person's, or a guy's anyway. I think it's a very gender, it's a very male book, I think, in that this is what guys, guy feelings, guy urges, and, you know, of which I'm happy to admit I'm part of that. You know, I'm not ashamed that God has put me into this position.